Hello, welcome back to the Inner. Today I'm joined by Guru Pashupati.
Hi, Nelson.
Hi, how are you?
I'm really good.
Awesome. If you could introduce yourself to the audience, tell them a little bit about yourself.
All right. I am a teacher of manners in India because we don't see manners as separate from spirituality. And it's because we don't have manners that we end up with really bad relationships. Okay. And this is what yoga teaches because I use something called Siddha Yoga to get people into that kind of thinking where they're not thinking only about themselves. They get out of being selfish, they get out of being selfless, and they enter into being symbiotic. Because yoga means symbiosis. A lot of people in the West don't know that. One of the meanings of yoga is symbiosis. And Siddha Yoga, it means that you become accomplished and you leverage this very wonderful and miraculous thing called consistency for you to be able to show up in the world in an energy that you deserve to show up in. And I started on this journey when I was 13. I met my guru when I was 13 years old, and I'm now 49. So it's been a long journey where uh, even I didn't know what I was doing right in the beginning, but I really knew that it was the pursuit of something greater than myself. And that leads to you being able uh, to create something called immortality inside you, which is your cells start healing faster than they decay when you've got all of these angles and you've got all these attitudes right. Then you start healing faster than you decay because finally you've got something worth living for. And such people, they become teachers, not only teachers, they become world teachers because the same problems exist across humanity where we've bought into the teaching, number one, that we're insignificant. There's no real consequence of our birth. And the second problem is that we start to think that we're all alone and we have to do everything by ourselves. And so we don't get to that place where we build a community and we grow with them. So this is my endeavor to build that ecosystem of gentle manners so that we can all get along and have respect for each other. And also, these things increase your energy. And when your energy is big, then your self esteem is big or your self image is big. But when your energy is small, you start to think like a rat. And then you get into the rat race and then you're finished because that thing only ends in death. So it's to save humanity from meaningless death that we've started all these things, and we have a small team here of about 20 people, and we're able to reach a considerable audience in my country, and also a considerable audience in almost every country. That's what I do right now.
That's amazing. And you said a lot of powerful things that I'd love to have you expound a bit more on. Starting off, I believe your guru was or is Babaji. If you
Yeah.
could talk a little bit about him, just in case some of the viewers don't really know who he is. But yeah,
Sure. Babaji jumped onto the world stage with a book called The Autobiography of a Yogi, which was written by Paramahamsa Yogananda, one of the students of Yukteswar Giri, who was a student of Lahiri Mahasaya, who was a student of Babaji, like me. Now, Babaji has many cards up his sleeve. It's not just uh, uh, Giri Yoga, which later they took a small part of Giri Yoga and then they made it. Giri means mountain. So they took a small part of mountain yoga and they extracted only the Kriyas from it for the West. And now he's known as Kriya Babaji, the one who gave Kriyas to people. And People are doing these kriyas all along, but they still haven't got out of the two things that are the biggest stumbling blocks, which is uh, I'm insignificant and I'm all alone. So people haven't been able to deal with their loneliness even with their kriyas, and that's what continues. Mahathir Babaji's vision is different. He, of course, has made mistakes like all of us, and he keeps trying. He keeps contacting people here, and a lot of people take birth here who are uh, probably citizens of another world, of a heavenly world. And then they try to bring light into this world, which is now engulfed in darkness. So Babaji's mission is to help people to get out of the darkness of I'm insignificant and I'm all alone into man, my birth has meaning and I'm really like there are a lot of people who are born to do this along with me, this meaningful thing. So we need to align with each other like that. That's Babaji's teachings. He doesn't limit it. He's not. Although all of these teachings are based in Hinduism, he hasn't limited it only to Hindus. He's opened it out for everybody. So I have Muslim students, I have Christian students, I have Sikh students, I have people coming from different walks of life, and people coming from different age groups. So it's a teaching that appeals to everybody.
That's powerful. Around how old would you say Babaji is?
I don't know. Maybe he's actually a manifestation of a god called Murugan or Kartik, as they call him in the north. So what happened is, as he was flying across the world, and these came out in our meditations. All of these details, which people don't know about Babaji, when we started meditating on Babaji's teacher Agastya, then he started revealing a lot of things that Babaji was flying around the world and he still does, but not in his form. He was doing it as Kartik, and he saw a couple, and there's a race of people called the Nagas, and they're not human. And a couple of them Naga parents were like praying for a child, for Murugan or Karthik to be born as a child. They wanted that. And when he saw that, he decided to take a birth. And he took birth as the child. And he went through a lot of difficulties because he got separated from his parents and then he got sold. And then he went as a slave to Sri Lanka where he met Agastya. And so this timeline is something like 2000 or even more years, maybe 2700 years, something like that. But that's only in this body.
Hmm.
Now, as we practice yoga, what happens to the body is first it becomes immortal and then it stops being of flesh. The amount of light inside you increases so much that you don't need to eat, you don't need to sleep, and you you can you can do a lot of things with the light body. So Babaji usually occupies his light body. He has many samadhis across the world. One of them is in a cave in the mountains where he's buried his body from various births, and those bodies are all still alive, and they all contribute to producing this light. The deep meditation into each of his emanations has gone into produce this light body, which is what keeps traveling. So people sight Babaji or they meet him in various continents, not just here. Some of them know that he's Babaji, and some of them don't know. Because when I met him, I didn't know he was Babaji. And there are six immortal schools of yoga, six schools of immortal yoga. So these six schools is what he coached me in from the age of 13 up until now, and he's still teaching me. There's a lot that I learned from him. Now I have a highway to him, which is when he put his hand on my third eye, I got connected to him and I can access him and I can speak to him like he's here, like I'm with him all the time. So that helps me to create teachings that are appropriate. And he gave me the title of Parampara Adhikari, which means I'm the authority of the lineage. So I get to make techniques. I get to see what's around me, use my senses, and make techniques for people. and which is what I've been doing on my YouTube channel. I don't talk much about Babaji on the channel because he asked me not to.
Mhm.
So yeah, I've told you what I can.
That's great. That's great, and I can respect that. So the next thing I guess I want to focus on a bit is the topic of immortality, the schools of immortality, and some of the immortals that are still active on the planet. That's been one of the topics that I've gotten in a lot of trouble for teaching myself. So I love the topic itself. Like it's highly necessary. So I'm curious of your angle and presentation of that.
Okay. Uh, so there are like six schools, like I said. There are Naga, Giri, Nath, um, Vajra, Agura, and I'm missing one here. Nath, Vajra, Giri, Agura, Siddha. So what I'm teaching now is the Siddha Yoga. The whole subject is really vast, but I can tell you a little bit about Siddha Yoga. And what Siddha Yoga does is that it uses things like mantras and it uses things like mm, self, like a mirror. You know, if you're going to become immortal, you need a mirror. Like if you're going to lose weight, you need a weighing scale, and you need to know like how you're doing every day and whether what you did today worked for you, whether that midnight snack was good for you or not. You need to track it, and then you know if you're losing weight. In a similar way, we have to track certain things. And what we track is our energy. So when I say energy, a lot of people think it's about um, how much energy they're feeling, but it's also an energy field. How big is your energy field? Is it is it really connecting and collecting and storing? So are we connecting to a source of energy? Are we collecting that energy and are we storing it as an energy field? Is what we need to be able to check. And that comes out in a very simple thing called mood. And if your mood is going down, dipping, that means you're losing energy. You're feeling miserable. And when you have low energy, guess what? Your self-image or your self-esteem also falls. And you start to believe that you're a very small person with very small power. But when your energy increases, you start to believe that you're a really big person with really big power. And that's what Siddha Yoga does. Now, healing is just voltage. There was a book written about it by Jerry Tennant, which is quite an amazing book, and I would recommend that everybody reads it. You need to understand that Yoga increases the voltage across your cells from minus 50 volts to maybe minus 250 volts. It just takes it up, and that's immortal levels. And now you can throw anything at that cell, and it's got the energy to deal with it. And this energy is stored in our body as water. The water splits up into, clouds, how they're electrically charged. Clouds are not made of ordinary water. It's the fourth stage of water. And this is electrically, it's got an exclusion zone. So it's called easy water. Clouds are easy water. So they have the protons. Water is H2O. So the proton H plus gets separated and it creates like a space between it and O OH minus, which is the other charge. So the positive and the negative charges in water split apart, and then now there's an electric field. And the cells sit inside that electric field. It's surrounded by this water. And because of that, there's a potential difference across the cell. And the mitochondria are then able to create something called an electron transfer chain, which runs your cells. And that's how we get our electricity. It's in millivolts. So usually a person will heal even if they're in minus 50 millivolts. But Siddhas take it, I think, all the way to minus 250. I haven't measured it These are just my guesses from reading the book Healing is Voltage. Because I see that when siddhas get injured or something, they just heal almost instantaneously. And when we get an infection or when we get something else, it just heals. Like when I got COVID, I got okay in a day. While most people are still suffering from some of the stuff, some of the symptoms of it that hasn't gone. So we enjoy supreme health, and we also enjoy supreme good moods, pleasures that cannot be described, is what is um, boiling inside us. There are many kinds of uh, pleasures, right? The first pleasure is to get what you want. We call that tosha. You wanted something, you got it. You wanted a tasty breakfast, you got it. You feel happy. That's just dopamine, and it's basic happiness. Okay, and it's not really sustainable happiness because it comes in spikes. And then after some time, you're not happy that you got what you want anymore. You got your breakfast and you had it, and you're not happy about it anymore because it's over. And then you also lost your hunger for it. So you got that big house you wanted, and now you lost your hunger for it. You got that car you wanted, and you lost your hunger for it. So that's called dosha. It's a it's a happiness spike. You can call it a happiness spike. Now, most people think the pursuit of dosha is the pursuit of happiness, but it's not. And so then there's another one which is called mudita, which is the pleasure, which is again energy. Pleasure takes energy. Pain doesn't take that much energy. Pain just needs you to lose energy. When you lose energy, you have pain. When you gain energy, you have pleasure. So the second pleasure is called mudita, and that's the pleasure of serving others. And when you serve someone else, you feel happy. And when they enjoy it and they say that, wow, thank you, you feel happy. So that's somewhat more sustainable because you can serve consistently and you can raise your energy that way by serving others. But also, you need to serve yourself. So if you got dosha and mudita, you'll be in symbiotic relationships where energy is increasing in that relationship for both people. But then there's a third one, which is called sushupti, which is just plain happiness from your heart, just gratitude for being alive, just gratitude for having this body. So sushupti could be likened to the pleasure of gratitude, the pleasure of you looking and observing just the wonder of this human body and the wonder of this ecosystem in which we live and the wonderful kinds of creatures and natural phenomena that are happening here. And you just feel happy to be on this planet in a human body. So that's called Sushupti, and it's very sustainable because this doesn't go away. This is one of those happiness that they can't take from you. Even if they throw you in prison, they can't take this happiness from you. So that's something that increases your voltage and makes you heal. When you're happy, you heal. I don't know any sad people who healed. The sad people have got chronic illnesses. They can't heal. So, and they think that they're sad because of their illness, but they actually got the illness because they were sad to begin with. They lost energy somewhere and they couldn't control their life. So this energy not only controls your cells, it also controls your lives and what we call karma. What gets unleashed as things for you to do today? Your movie and your story is all controlled by this energy. So if you come from a place of sushupti, mudita, tosha, then you're going to create a lot of things. And then there's something called ananda. Ananda comes when someone respects you. So they just admire you. When someone admires you, respects you, and says, wow, your contribution is meaningful, then you don't feel so small anymore. So Ananda makes your energy really big. It makes you happy, and it when you respect them back, you know, then there's a flow of this energy. There's a mutual flow of Ananda. We can give Ananda to each other. Nanda means respect. Ananda means mutual respect. So that's really what it is. These four things we use to increase our energy and become immortal. And there are various ways to build this and, to cultivate it. Yeah,
Yeah, that's great. So pretty much it's taking the body and moving it into a plasmic state where it's able to maintain this high level of energy, which means anything that would lower the voltage, there's enough voltage to replace it. So pretty much you're constantly overflowing in power. I like
correct.
that.
Correct. And you're also serving from the overflow,
Yeah.
because you're not serving from empty. You're serving from the overflow. So it's sustainable.
Yeah. And I like it. Even the fact that you're saying that you serve from the overflow, not from the deficit. So it's keeping yourself in the overflow so that you're able to serve and keep yourself up.
That's right. That's right.
That's awesome. So, speaking of immortality, what can you tell me about Amrita, the nectar?
Yeah. Amrita is the nectar of immortality, but Amrita literally means immortality itself. So it's not always a nectar. There is a nectar. There is a nectar. There's a there's an energetic anatomy of a human body, which the yogis studied. And this is the model that everybody across the world uses even now. No matter what modality they're teaching, it comes back to the chakras. And these are places where we need to understand that the body is, of course, gross, physical, but it has a subtle body as well. The subtle body is called prana, or the Chinese call it chi. So for you to develop that subtle part is the feminine part, and the gross part is the male part. So if you look at the energy of a man, it's more gross. It's not subtle, but a woman's energy is subtle. So that's why we call it feminine. Women are able to use their intuition and their higher sensitivity to tap into subtleness. They can sense energy more than men. And when when that prana is happy inside you, and there's happiness there, then it lasts, it stays with your body. But if it's not, like, even in a relationship, if the woman loses respect for you, she stops giving you energy anymore. And then it's all fake. It's no longer real. So a lot of people have a fake relationship with their prana. It's not happy. They're forcing the prana to do things that it doesn't want to do. They're trying to push it. They're trying to use that energy for stuff it's not meant to be used for. And so that's why doing all the things we don't want to do, we start leaking prana. Prana leaves you. She says, I don't want to be with this body. This consciousness isn't driving itself properly. And so it just leaves. And when prana leaves, the body starts shriveling. It starts losing its potency, starts losing its power. And psychologically, the person's self-esteem falls. And it is think they don't think big of themselves. They think they're very small.
That's cool. So I want to shift a little bit to talking a bit more about some of the gods or deities in the Hindu culture.
Mhm.
Um, Shiva.
Mhm.
I believe you've had encounters or experiences with Shiva very directly. What can you say about not just the functions of Shiva, but the personality of Shiva? Who is he as a person or a personality, I guess?
Okay, so there are two schools of thought about Shiva. It's called Shaivism, the study of Shiva. There are two schools of Shaivism. One is the Kashmir school, and the other is the Tamil school. Babaji comes from the Tamil school. He speaks Tamil. And in Tamil, we understand the Tirumular said that he said Anbe Shivam, which means Shiva is love. And we see Shiva as a person, and we understand him, and we can communicate with him, we can talk to him, and we consider him as the first guru or the Adi Guru, the one who taught from all lineages started from him. So, including the Siddha lineage. The Siddha lineage starts from this person or this personality called Shiva, who's a divine personality. He has four hands and he has five heads, and he's called Sadashiv. That form of his is called Sadashiv. There are four heads in the four directions north, south, east, and west, and there's one facing upwards, one head looking up like that. And then there's his lingam or his penis, which is also a source of knowledge. So one stream of knowledge came out of the head up there, and that's called Urdhvan mind. And there's one which comes out from the front. There's one that comes, there's the north, then the east, then the west, and the south. So that's four schools. And then there's a school that comes out of his lingam, which is this sixth school. So it's through these schools that we learn various methods. The one that comes out of the lingam is, of course, a sexual school of energy cultivation, where it's connected, it's collected in sexual ways, and that's a very secret school. It's not. There's no information about it at all. What the Western students have got out of coming to India and learning is their own version. In India, we call it khichdi. Khichdi is like you put you put rice and you put pulses and you put a whole lot of spices and you put a whole lot of stuff and you just boil it and then you see what happens. So it's not really a structured approach that's happening in the West. And everyone got fascinated about that part of yoga, the sexual part of it. But they forgot that there are five other schools and they're all teaching different things. They're teaching you how to be practically present and establish your presence in this world through your body and through your energy. And yeah, so that's what it is. Mm, did I answer your
That's,
question?
yeah, so that's great. So, moving from Shiva, what is some things that you can tell us about Vishnu?
Vishnu is, again, look, Shiva, Brahma, and Vishnu are the same thing. They're like three aspects of the same consciousness or the same God. And it's like in the West, it's not that highly defined because you have just one God. And you know, all the Abrahamic religions that like Judaism or Christianity or Islam have just one God.
Hmm.
But we understand that the one God splits into three when it meets a ray of light. It meets four. It actually splits into four, by the way. People only know Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. There are three aspects to anything in nature. There's momentum, there's change, and there's balance. These three things. So we call momentum tamas, we call change rajas, and we call balance sattva. Now, Vishnu is the one that brings balance. If you want to maintain something, then it's always a dynamic equilibrium because there are forces acting upon it, the momentums of other things acting upon it. This momentum is called karma. But within that, you can surf it. It's like a wave that's coming. The wave has momentum, but you can use it for change. You can use it for transport. You can transport yourself from point A to point B on the wave, just like a surfer. So if you become a karmic surfer, then you'll wait for your karma, you see what's coming, and then you jump on a wave and then you ride it. That activity is called rajas, that ability to change that. Uh, but those who are tamasic, they go with the wave, and whatever destruction happens from the wave, they're going to get destroyed just like that. Or they're going to just stand there, drink a lot of water, and drown, which is what most people are doing. They're doing slow drowning. They're doing slow drowning in the waves of karma. So you need to learn to ride this. For that, you need something called rajas, and that's Brahma, creativity. And then there's tamas, which is Shiva, and that's the momentum. Shiva is the momentum, but Vishnu is the balance or the equilibrium, and Brahma is the change agent. But it's all just one God, really. So there's a story when Shiva was getting married to his first wife. Uh, Brahma takes one look at her, and then he has an erection, and then he even has an ejaculation looking at her. And then Shiva gets mad. He's like, "What kind of lack of manners is this? I'm going to kill you." So he gets ready to kill Brahma. Then Vishnu steps in and he says, "Hey, you can't kill this guy because we're all one. You, me, and him, we'd be just the same thing. You got to realize it. So if he lusted after your wife, it's you who lusted after your wife. It's not another person." So he explains that to him. And this same thing happens where Vishnu has married three women, Ganga, Saraswati, and Lakshmi. But Saraswati and Ganga keep fighting with each other. And then they curse each other. Saraswati curses the Ganga, saying, "You will become a river on earth, and you will take all the sins of people. People will come to wash their sins in you." And she curses Saraswati, saying, "You will also become a river on earth, and you will vanish, and you'll become an underground river." And till today, there's an underground river called Saraswati. So these gods, then Vishnu has enough of them fighting, and he sends Saraswati to Brahma, and he sends Ganga to Shiva to be Shiva's wife. Why? Because they're all one. So with all these stories, we start to really understand what's the dynamic. It's complicated, right? So, but so is life. You have these three things. You've got momentum, you've got change, and you've got equilibrium. And it's always these three things, one turning into the other.
Yeah.
And then there's one which is not involved in any of this circus, and he's called Maheshwara. And people don't speak much about him, but he's called Nirgun. He's unchanging, and he has no momentum, and he has no equilibrium, which means you can't perceive him in any way. Because even to perceive him, he'd have to have some kind of momentum or some kind of equilibrium, otherwise, or some kind of change. Because this is the only things we can perceive. We can perceive equilibrium, we can perceive momentum, we can perceive change, but we can't even perceive Maheshwara. So four rays of light hit the one consciousness and it turns into four things. And the four rays are black, which is tamas, red, which is change, rajas, and white, which is balance or equilibrium, sattva. And then there's nirguna, which is a colorless ray.
Okay, that's awesome. So, talk a little bit about Mother, Durga, Devi.
Yeah. So the mother is instrumental in this, So it's very complicated, but I'll try to simplify it. There's something called nothing. There's something called nothing where there's nothing, and even scientists say that that's where the universe came from nothing, nothingness, and that is Paramashiva. From Paramashiva starts to emerge a desire to know himself, because the biggest problem of nothing is loneliness, and it wants to solve that. So it brings out the mother goddess Shakti. She she reflects his light back to him. So he's called Prakasha and she's called Vimarsha. He's called the light, she's called the reflection. When she reflects it back to him, she splits the ray into four, into Rajas, Tamas, Sattva, and Nirgun. And when those four fall on him, he turns into four male consciousness or male forms. And that's Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, and Maheshwara. These are the four forms. And then what happens is that she starts to entertain them. She starts coming in various forms to entertain them. And she says, "Now your problem of loneliness is over because I'm here. And I'm going to infinitely entertain you. I'm going to test you. I'm going to make sure that you become a better and better man. And that's her power. And then that's called Leela or play. And the one who plays is called Lalita. And she's the goddess of light. And women's cycles are like the moon. They've got a 28-day cycle approximately, just like the moon. So that's a long curve. There's like long energy. So there's more momentum for a woman. She's able to build up a lot of momentum, and she's not one for quick change. She's one for slow change, but she is for change. And so she starts coming in various forms. So she creates evil. And then to save the good from the evil, she comes back as good as well. She goes and blesses the evil ones as Kali. And she blesses all the asuras and says, yeah, let's create some evil in the world, adharma. And then she comes back as Dharma. Then she comes back as Durga, and then she fights them. So all of the mother goddess is actually just one goddess, which is a reflection. And all of the male gods are actually just one god, which is, you know, the formless one.
Cool. So, in talking about the different gods or the few singular gods and their many expressions, what does intimacy with them really look like, or a relationship with them look like for you? Like, do you speak to them directly, just as you and I are talking to each other, or is it a bit different?
Yeah, it's pretty much like that. When gods appear to you, they're massive. You can't, like, you would probably be the size of their nail or something. They're that big. And when they appear, there's changes in nature. Nature starts fluttering. Like there'll be lots of wind, or there'll be like rain or something, thunder, lightning. You see the expressions of the appearance of the god in the sky. And the voice is something that comes telepathically and vibrates you. And once you hear the voice of God, you hear it with your skin. And yeah, that's how it pretty much manifests. And then when you look at yourself, you realize that you're a god too. In order to perceive a god, you have to become a god too. So there's my student who did Bhairav Japa. Like he did a chanting of the Bhairav mantra. And after some time, Devi appeared in front of him in the form of Mahamaya. And then he asked her, "Who are you? What is Maya?" And then she pulled his head out of the water, and then she showed him that water into which you're submerged. This is Maya. Don't fight it. It's there for you to entertain yourself. And then she put him back in it. And when he started remembering that incident, then I said, "Hey man, who were you then? Who were you?" And then he brought back his mind to that memory, and he saw that he was also God there. He didn't notice. So we start to embody the God as well. To talk to a God, you have to be a God.
That's powerful. So, in talking about them, what do the mounts or the vahanas represent? Are those pretty much the consciousnesses that carry their energy, or what is that? Kind of explain that a bit.
So Shiva's Vahan is called Nandi, and Nandi is a bull. But Nandi himself is Shiva, because Nandi's father, Shiladya, was wishing for Shiva to be born as his child. And so Shiva takes birth as Nandi as his child. And then later he goes into the service of Shiva because he had a very short lifespan, and Shiva came and chased away the god of death, which is why he's called Mrityunjaya, or the one that conquers death. And so he came as Mrityunjaya, and he chased away death, and Nandi became immortal. So Shiva is serving Shiva. Now most of the Vahans have the same story. They're just the energy of the god, which takes birth as them. But some are interesting stories. Like Ganesha's Vahan is Mushik, which is a rat, and that rat was an asur, somebody who was busy killing people. He was a gigantic rat, and Ganesh comes there and says, "Listen, man, I'm going to kill you." He says, "I have a better offer. Why don't I become your Vahan? I'll take you around, and nothing will give me more pleasure than that, and I'll be faithful to you. So don't kill me." So he made that Mushikasur as his Vahan. So he took an evil person, made as Vahan. So there's different stories going on. And the appearance of the Vahan is significant because that shows in what ways the god comes. And guess what? When you start praying to a particular god, you'll start seeing his Vahan everywhere.
So what about Shisha and Garuda?
Shesha is not a Vahan. He became a bed for Vishnu to lie down on the cosmic ocean of Maya. So he became a bed. He's Vishnu's bed, and he that travels all over the cosmic ocean, where Vishnu goes to sleep. Yoganidra takes charge of him. Devi gets into him. She takes charge of him. She takes charge of his. She enters him through his eyes, his ears, his uh, his chest, and his mouth, and she puts him to sleep. So Shesha is the one holding him up. Is the infinite snake. He's also called Anantnag, which is infinite snake. And then there's the Garuda. Garuda is actually an avatar of Shiva, and his brother Aruna is the charioteer of the sun. The sun has seven horses as his vahan, which are the seven frequencies that light splits into through a prism. That's the octave of light. The visible octave of light is his vahan. Uh, Garud became Vishnu's vahan later because he was overcome with bhakti for Vishnu, and he was born to take Vishnu to places. So many battles of Vishnu have been fought mounted on Garud. Yeah.
So what do the animals, the peacock and the tiger, really represent?
The tiger is the Vahan of Devi because Devi likes to create a world where there are predators and prey. She does that. And she's not on anyone's side. She just enjoys an ecosystem which is made up of things eating each other. So the tiger represents the top of the food chain, the top of creation, and that's what Devi is. The tiger has a very special energy too. It's a powerful presence, and if you in the wild, if you come across a tiger, you will feel the chill in your bones because it's got that kind of energy. So that's the tiger, and the peacock is Murugan's one. So the peacock it represents Murugan's mobile energy. It's coming from him itself, and it's um, it's known for its ability to eat snakes, and so it can. It's also a predator. It's one of those powerful presences, and it's stunningly beautiful. So he has beauty, he has youth, so he rides on a peacock.
All right. So in talking about, let's just say, functions, right? You're a guru. What would you say the actual role of a guru is?
A mirror, because a guru helps you to evaluate yourself where you're fooling yourself, and you can't travel the spiritual path without this feedback of how you're doing. And it has to be another human being
who gives you that feedback. You can't systemize it because everyone's on their own journey. And so the guru is with every student. He lives inside them. At this is the point where you meet the guru, where I grow my hair. This point. So that place is called Brahmarandra, and that's where you meet your guru. And the guru is always guiding you, always intensifying your conscience so that you can see yourself.
Awesome. And so, how does a guru differ from a sadguru?
Sadguru is probably um, your guru's guru. Like if you learn from me, Mahatar Babaji would be your Sadguru. So it's like grand guru.
Okay. And I guess just moving in that same train of thought, what would be the difference between a guru and a siddhar?
A siddha is what gurus make. Gurus create siddhas. Not all siddhas will become siddha gurus. But a siddha is one of those immortal beings, like Mahatar Babaji, uh, Agastya, and so many of them. So the lineage of siddhas, there are two lineages, one in the north, and in the north they're called rishis. But in the south, the same rishis, when they came here, they were called siddhas because they started to make things, they started to make life easy for people. They taught a lot of things. And even to this date, siddhas are very active in the south of India.
So, another defining terms again is the difference between an avatar and an avadut.
Okay. An avadut is a person who has accepted his divine identity and has become immortal. So it's pretty much like a siddha. There's not much of a difference. But an avatar is a divine being that takes birth in a human body, like Krishna is
Okay.
an avatar of Vishnu.
So I know Vishnu is known for taking avatars. He's probably the most famous for it. Um, do the other gods ever take human avatars?
Not Brahma, I don't know about his avatars, but Shiva takes a lot of avatars. And his latest one was as Lakulesh, and he's still taking avatars. He's still being born.
Okay. So what can you tell me about the lokas?
Yeah. So there are 14 lokas, and the ones that are heavens are called lokas. The others are called talas. They're like the root of the tree, and the lokas are everything that you see above the surface. So the talas are below the surface. The word tala means floor, so it's below the floor. And there's the floor and above. And Earth is the border district. It's like one of the lokas, one of the heavens. Earth is one of the heavens. So that's where we are right now. And this universe, this material universe that we see around us, that is Earth. But if you could move your energy, then you could go to higher lokas and you could visit the gods. And then time is different over there. If you spend a day there, there would be like 1,000 years passed on Earth. So the lokas are different. Like if you spend a day in the lokas, sorry, the talas are different. If you spend a day in the talas, it would be equal to a few minutes here. And people frequently do. They take like a ritual, they take a few minutes to feel bad about themselves and their life. So people easily visit talas and they have a bad experience. But to visit lokas, you need energy.
Okay, that's great. So, thinking about power objects and in a certain vein, what would you say is the significance of sandalwood or sandalwood paste?
Sandwood paste gives you luxury and richness in your energy. So I'm wearing some here,
Mhm.
and this is the meeting point of the three rivers of my body. The three rivers of energy that flow in my body, one in my spine, the other on my left side, the other on my right side, they meet here. Trikuti. So I'm making it luxurious and rich by applying sandalwood paste over there. Because sandalwood is very costly and it's rare and it smells divine.
Yeah. So, in your regular practice, what does I guess you could say, what does your daily engagement or regular routine kind of look like? What do you do to stay in your right mind and kind of regulate yourself?
One is following a strict circadian rhythm. So when the sun sets, I don't do any more work. I'm done. I'm just gonna sleep. I don't eat either. I'm not gonna sleep, but I'm gonna go sit on my bed and do meditations that have been taught to me by my guru, and I keep practicing consistently. And I sleep around 9:30. So from 6:30 to 9:30, I'm just meditating, and then I wake up real early, like 2:22. I start waking up, and then my energy builds, and by 3 o'clock, I start my sadhana, which goes on for 2 hours, and then from 5 o'clock, I take class for my students, and 6 o'clock, I do summer sadhana, 6 to 7. So I'm getting in about 6 hours of sadhana or practice every day.
That's powerful. So, I have pretty much one more question for you, and then we'll start to wrap up.
Mhm.
Um, what would you say, if there are any, some of the dangers of yogic practices or the
Hmm.
improper use of yogic practices?
Okay. The first danger in yogic practice is that you don't come with a proper story. You don't know why you're running after this power. So that's going to be a painful journey because you don't have the why sorted. And that's when things go awry and people start showing up in ugly ways with all this energy and they don't know what to do with it. So it basically bites them back. And this is the only thing. So if you have a clear purpose, even if it's an evil purpose and you're clear about it, then there's no danger for you. If it's an evil purpose and you're clear about it, it's danger for others, not for you. And but if you don't know your purpose, then you just destroy yourself with all the energy that you build. It's like giving a kid a gun. He doesn't know what to do with it. He'll shoot himself in the foot. So you got to be mature. And not everyone is an adhikari to learn it. No, everyone doesn't have the authority to learn it. So the gurus teach it only to people who will not shoot themselves in the foot. So there's a strong screening process. Out of the thousands of students who come and learn some basic stuff from me, I teach advanced stuff only to one out of thousand.
That's great. Has there been any, like, let's just say, horror stories of people who couldn't regulate their energy, any almost deaths or anything?
Well, not for me, but one of my teachers was expressing about a recent incident where a guy used his powers to start controlling women's minds and sleep with them. He's not even over his greed because lust is just greed. Every negative thing that you have is just greed because you don't have the patience to earn it. And so you want to use a shortcut. And then you're not satisfied with what you got because it wasn't what you got. So you think getting more of it is going to help you. So this guy was going around and then he didn't even know how to control his ejaculation and he got one of the girls, or one of the ladies pregnant, and she was a married woman. And it was a big mess. So my teacher had to go and help her to get an abortion. in a natural way, and then uh, he took the power away from that guy. Yeah, took the power away, and he gave him ED, so he can't get it up anymore. So what a waste of time, right? If he had
Mhm.
screened properly, then that wouldn't happen. And he told me, you screen your students properly, don't teach just anyone. So because of the grace of my gurus, I've never given power to an idiot so far.
That's powerful. A lot of what you just said was powerful. I hope people pay attention to it. Uh, so, if you could leave or share any last bits of wisdom to the or with the audience, I'll just kind of open the floor for you to do so.
Well, I think that I'm going to give you an algorithm to follow to sort out your life and bring you back to truth and to reflect upon yourself. And the first question you have to ask yourself about your problems is it solvable? And if it's solvable, then, if it's not solvable, just accept it and move on. And it's very sobering to understand when something is not solvable because it's time to move on. But if it is solvable, then try to find the root cause. State the problem better. A lot of people state the problem wrongly. They say, I'm addicted to cigarettes. That's not the problem, that's the solution.
Hmm.
The problem is there's stuff going on in your life that makes you want to smoke. There's disrespect, there's dishonor going on in your life, and that's why you want to smoke because you're trying to deliver something that you're clearly not equipped to deliver. Maybe you've got stress. Maybe that's why you smoke because you're greedy. You promise people that you are more than you are. And so now you need to smoke. So you need to fix it at the root. So find the root problem and state the problem properly. And if you can do that, unsolvable problems become solvable. Because my guru said that there are no unsolvable problems. There are only problems that are hiding because they haven't been stated accurately. So like my advice to everybody is just get a grip on what is your real problem. If you get a grip on what's your real problem, you won't have any trouble solving it. You can't solve problems because you stated them wrong. That's not the actual problem. You're barking up the wrong tree. When you bark up the right tree, your problem will be solved.
That's powerful. Thank you for that. Actually, if anyone wants to connect with you, partner with you, find you, where could they do so?
On my website. If you want to talk to me, then message me on Instagram. It's Guru Pashupati. And if you wanna do my courses, then you go to my website, which is chamundigurukulam.in. I start people off, no matter who you are and no matter what you've done in the past as a spiritual practice, and no matter how old you are, I always start people with one program. It's called Devi Sparsha, so that you can talk to Devi like as if she's there, so that you have that spiritual protection and spiritual privilege, which other people don't have. So that's the program to do if you want to learn from me. This first program. I will not teach you anything else until you've mastered this.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining me today. This has been a powerful session. I really hope people paid attention to a lot of the important jewels that you dropped throughout this session. Um, well, thank you all for joining us. This has been The Inner. Until next time, y'all be blessed. Later.